Mr. Chairman, honourable ministers, ladies and gentlemen, it is, first of all, thank you for that very kind introduction, and it's a great pleasure to be here in Prague as you having just assumed the presidency of the Roma decade, and we have great hopes that, despite what the ambassador said, we must have hopes at least, Ambassador, that you will make progress, and certainly it was a very good sign that the Prime Minister knows what the issue is. The decade for Roma inclusion is it's a long-term commitment by governments and civil society to make a difference in the daily lives of the Roma. We call it a decade, but I'm sure it's going to be a lot longer than a decade to achieve all our objectives. Maybe we'll have to have the second decade in a few years' time. But it is about identifying actions. It's about your sharing your experiences and what works and what doesn't work. But as the ambassador very vividly showed us, we have much more to do. But I do want, at this, we are halfway through the decade, actually a little more than halfway through the decade. I want to reaffirm the World Bank's commitment to support for inclusion of Roma in European societies and to the process of dialogue between governments and civil society to move forward. This is the very heart of the solution. As the chairman kindly said, the bank's involvement in these issues goes back a long way, and it's been rather broad-ranging. It started about 7 years ago when our then president, Mr. Jim Wolfenson, visited with George Soros, a community in Macedonia, and they were deeply moved by what they saw. Now, the World Bank is good at analysis. George Soros is very good at convening powerful people, and so that's what they did. And so the bank wrote a report on breaking the poverty cycle for Roma, and George Soros got everybody together in 2004, and the decade was launched, and the Roma Education Fund, which continues with great strength and renewed strength, I would say, since last year, was launched as well. The bank has continued, I hope, to play on our strength of analyzing these issues from an economic perspective and on a fact-based perspective. And this morning's discussion will be around the latest such reports. We hope these reports have contributed to setting the agenda for Roma inclusion. It's part of our continuing role in disseminating the analysis of these issues, and that is manifested in, for example, our continued involvement in Roma summits and our long-term engagement with the decade. But we have tried to be active by, as we might say, putting our money where our mouth is. And as the chairman said, very important to move from pilot activities to full-scale activities, and those are what we have been supporting in a number of your governments in, I think, important ways. We are now supporting social inclusion projects in Bulgaria, in Romania, respectively 30 million euro and 47 million euro. Macedonia has a very interesting conditional cash transfer program working, and there is a local government capacity building project in Serbia of $46 million. Let's say 35 million euro. They are designed for to support social inclusion of all vulnerable groups, including Roma. Roma are not the only vulnerable groups in our societies. In Bulgaria, for example, the project is working with municipalities to develop local action programs, and a particular emphasis on the critical area of early childhood education. We are finding in Bulgaria many children, many Roma children, many Turkish children arriving at their first year in school without the ability to speak Bulgarian, and that is a very bad start for them, and if we are to promote integrated schools. And of course the reverse must be true. Interventions at an early stage are so necessary because this amazing fact that we have to keep in mind that 40% of working age Roma have not even completed primary education. And I remember Minister Mustafa giving us some even more shocking statistics from Macedonia. It has engaged the bank at the highest level on these issues. Our managing director came to the REF donor conference just last year, and recently I took our president to Bulgaria, and we met with beneficiaries of the Roma Education Fund. It was a very moving experience to hear about the stories of these children, especially what the common theme was. What turned their lives around was when they moved from schools that were just Roma schools and that were not doing too well. They moved to integrated schools, and their quality of education turned around. They were able to enter through the Roma Education Fund. They were then able to complete secondary education, move on to tertiary education, and here they were ready to enter the world of work, well qualified and with wonderful attitudes about how they could contribute in the future. I say this because it's very important always to know that things can work. And when we meet these, and the Minister, you and I, we met such graduates in Macedonia earlier in the year also, when our Vice President came to Macedonia. And it's so inspiring to see that actually these interventions can produce results. We can help children onto better lives. So we know we have many failures, far too many failures, but we know we can succeed too, and that's a good thing to have in mind. At the next session, we're going to discuss a policy note that we have prepared called Roma Inclusion, an economic opportunity for Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Romania, and Serbia. And Mr. Chairman, if I may just not contradict you, but just rephrase something you said. This report is not about the costs of excluding Roma from participating fully in economic life. It's about the benefits of including. It says, we often talk about the benefits for the Roma people of greater opportunity, but what about the benefits for the country and the benefits for government revenues? These are hard fiscal times. As the ambassador was saying, budgets are being cut. Well, what the report argues is that if we can find ways to increase the employment opportunities for Roma, well, the government budgets would also benefit in important ways. Just for these 4 countries, we estimate that annual GDP could increase by about 6 billion euro a year. Not 6 billion euro by the time we finish the decade or something, 6 billion euro a year, and that fiscal revenues could increase by about 2 billion euro a year just for these 4 countries. These are not small numbers. These numbers compare quite favorably with the cohesion funds that such countries are receiving from the European Union. So it is something I think to think about. We believe it's a very compelling case that there could be more economic success in this region of Central and Eastern Europe if Roma are able to get jobs and to pay taxes as equally as the citizens. This is a message that we received very loud and clear from the government of Bulgaria when the President visited there. It's something that is going to be around for a long time. So we hope today's discussions will generate consensus that inclusion makes economic sense. Never mind whether it's right or proper or it responds to human rights, it makes economic sense to have inclusion. But we do hope that the meeting will move beyond why and discuss the what and the how of bringing this about. The note makes some suggestions for how we could move on this through, for example, active labor market policies, early childhood services. Engagement on these issues is a very legitimate role for the decade. So we look forward with great anticipation to the Czech Republic's leadership of the decade, and we look forward to there being a very engaging and important discussion today and tomorrow. Thank you very much.